and we're gonna 6:37 open the meeting of the Housing Partnership. Does anyone have anything to add to the agenda? Which is really lengthy, but I'm not sure that anything.
I have other things, but I can go into the other items. It's not, doesn't need to be its own standalone thing.
Okay.
No, nothing else.
So, Betty and I and Jim were at the zoning board meeting last month for Habitat, which went
Very well.
very well.
Even the zoning board members couldn't believe it.
I was
That's great.
quite pleasantly surprised at how well and how.
Did I tell you that they've come into some bumps since then, or do you want to wait?
Have they?
Well,
Go ahead. Continue with
Okay,
your-
well, I'll just pass, these are the plans that they passed around. At the meeting, they seemed perfecally fine with Habitat's request for the 0 lot line and had,
reasonable from that.
they were going to continue the discussion at their next zoning board meeting because they had to make sure they wrote up the decision correctly and all that. And there was not anybody there that spoke in opposition of the request.
That's great.
However,
They've had some opposition.
So, as part of the 40B process, you know that the application has to go to all the various boards and committees for comment. So the Conservation Commission had some issues in regards to the wetland delineation that they, in their opinion, was old. It was from 2005. And given the location of the units and its how close it is to the wetland buffer,
Where it is.
they had, a member of the Conservation Commission had some concerns in terms of the construction zone of the house and that they would start to be entering the buffer area because there
It is close.
wasn't enough space between the corner of the house and the wetland buffer.
This works.
So as a result of this, the comment from the Conservation Commission, Maggie asked that they sort of hold off on making a final vote until that's been resolved and there's some more information. So since then, Habitat has put an RDA, request for determination of applicability for wetlands laws for the Conservation Commission. They're scheduled to go before the Concom on the 25th. We took care of just getting their legal notice ready for them, so we've put the legal notice in the paper, so they should be ready, and we're going to invoice them for that cost. So, but we, just to try to keep moving things along, did that for them.
Thank you. It went so well.
So anyway, so the ZBA is going to hold a decision until the Concom makes a decision. We were kind of hoping that we could get on the Concom agenda, but because of legal notice requirements, the timing didn't fall as such. So anyway, the RDA should take just one meeting with the Conservation Commission, and depending what comes out of that, if they make a negative determination, then they can just move forward. If they make a positive determination, then they need to therefore go for a wetlands permit. So we'll see what happens under that meeting. And I haven't had a chance to talk to Maggie, so I don't know if she just wants to draft the decision that these things will be handled as such with the Conservation Commission and leave it at that, or if she wants to wait until something comes a little bit more formal from them. So that's the deal. I have some news on Everett Street too, but I don't know if you want me to talk about that now or.
Okay.
So in this back and forth in my communication with Aaron, so last Friday they sent out requests for bids to contractors regarding demolition, different bits of demolition for the house. So they're looking at 3 different categories and getting prices on demolition for the plaster on the walls to address mold issues. Apparently there's quite a bit of mold in there, so they need to deal with that. Another cost estimate for the removal of the siding, because there's and the removal of the asbestos tar paper that's underneath the siding. And then looking at lead abatement for, I guess, the door in the bathroom has some lead paint on it, and the porch has some lead paint on it as well. So they're getting price estimates, and they're going to be looking at these numbers.
They're just put a new door on.
I don't know.
It would be cheaper than.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if I might have misheard him somehow. I mean, this was happening fast on the phone, so I did get the porch, and I have door on bathroom, so I don't know. Anyway, so based on these cost estimates, they'll determine sort of the best course of action, whether they're going to just demo the building or whether they're going to rehab it. So they still haven't made a final decision on what they're going to do yet. He said that there's more support for rehabbing it versus demoing it, but they haven't made that final decision yet. So Last week, Aaron went out with Peter Wells from Berkshire Design, and they did do a preliminary site walk to determine where the other 3 houses would be based on that 4th unit being rehabbed. So now he's doing some pro bono work to come up with a site plan, and they should have that moving forward here pretty quickly. And then Aaron is also in the process of putting the LIP application together, so he's starting to get all those pieces together and have to be coming to you for a letter and your signature for the application. So things are moving.
That's good. Woohoo!
Yeah.
That's great news. They are having an information meeting. I think you sent that to us, right?
It's on the 12th, I think, of February.
It's next Tuesday.
Yeah.
In Greenfield, right?
Yes. There's one in Northampton. There's one. I can't remember.
I mean, it was a Greenfield Savings Bank or Greenfield Cooperative.
I can't
Yeah,
remember.
there's one I have.
I brought the flyer with me, but so yeah, so that's good.
That is good. Maybe Aaron will be charging them right along on these.
Yeah.
Well, his job prior to that was at UMass, and things don't move very quickly there either.
So he's excited to move quickly.
Right.
All right, well that's good. So last time I left in the middle of the meeting before we get to talk about the housing production plan, I don't know, did you guys talk about it at all?
No,
or you?
Not really,
Okay.
but I've had some meetings with Christina, so
Okay.
I've got my notes now for that. So I met with her yesterday.
Oh.
And she's moving along. I think she just didn't understand housing. Like, I think that was a real problem for her, is that she was looking at it at such a macro level that she didn't understand sort of the micro levelness of the assessment. And she admitted that she didn't really even fully understand what an housing assessment was until she took some classes through the regional planning program last semester. And now I think with those classes, she has a better sense of what this plan is supposed to do. So I think that's good. So she's sort of moving in the right direction. So she's had a couple of conversations with Ty Kelleher about homelessness, and she's been doing a lot of research on homelessness issues, on housing first, and so she's going to have a whole section dedicated to that. In transitional housing, she has a whole new section regarding new state housing policies and a lot of their focus and what the governor is sort of pushing with housing and new multifamily units and homelessness, about housing and transitional housing. So she's got a whole new section on that. She met with John Mullen to talk about church properties and to get a better sense of sort of the process, and she said he didn't really give her a lot that she probably didn't already know. He gave her a bunch of different people to possibly talk to, but what came out of the conversation more is that he wants to do an actual studio project based on these properties and what is the actual process of converting them from church properties to housing or alternative, some other use. One of the comments that he made to her is that with church rehab, churches themselves, the basement ceilings are usually too low, the insulation is not very good at all, and so there's a lot of work that needs to happen on these properties in order to make them habitable. So I haven't talked to the mayor yet about the studio, but if it's okay with you, if you think it seems like a good thing, I'll bring it to the mayor and ask him if he'd be willing to support. I don't know if there's a cost or anything. I haven't gotten to that level. A studio is through the regional planning and landscape architecture program, and so it's basically a class project. So instead of just doing classwork, it's a real world project. And I'm guessing, based on what I know of John and how his interests, they'd be doing, basically market studies. They'd be doing, deep analysis on what's the process of converting these properties that are owned by a diocese to another reuse, because it's a different process than any other building. It's just much more complicated, and he doesn't know what that process is. He hasn't figured it out, so he wants to use this as kind of a model of how to help other communities determine how they can use these surplus.
I think it's a fantastic idea, because to get John to do that,
I know, for him to be interested in it was like great.
Absolutely.
So,
if you pay him to come and do it as a consultant, to come in and do this, it costs a fortune, and he's the guy that people go to. So this is fantastic idea.
So I thought that was great. So at least that came out of the discussion. What else is she doing? She completely redid the introduction section, although she had some confusion in regards to when she looked at the Excel spreadsheets you sent, and she was like, why are we using the $64,400 number? This is not the same as the median household income for East Hampton. And I was like, oh. She didn't know that there was this HUD standard. She didn't understand that. So we had a long discussion about that, and so she's now back on the right track, and she's going to redo that whole intro section. So that's what I'm saying, like, she just doesn't understand some of those things that seem pretty common sense to us, but she hasn't done this yet. So anyway, and she totally redid the methodology section. So she said that she's going to work on it over the weekend, and we should expect to have a new draft by next week.
That's great. We'll have a 3-day weekend to work on it.
Yes.
Yeah, since we're having a blizzard.
Right. And I basically extended her contract so that, because we are paying her technically, I gave it some cushion. I said to the end of April. She's anticipating to be done by mid-March, by spring break, is her goal.
That's a good idea. That makes sense.
But I just cushioned it a little bit, just in case.
Well, it sounds like she's made a lot of progress.
I think so. I think so. And I think having the RP classes last semester helped her understand how she didn't do it right the first time. So she clearly admitted, like, I didn't get what I was supposed to do. But so we're getting there.
Awesome.
Yeah,
She's still working away on it, so that's
still working away. So I don't know if there's any other things you want to talk about the plan, or is that?
That's good. I mean, the one thing I mentioned to some of you, but not all of you, is on the ownership section. So when I looked, because she didn't understand the median income, and she was like using numbers from, I don't know, 2006, and when you actually go through and use the 80% of the area median income today, the affordable house price was like $215,000, which was a lot different from what she had in her narrative based on the calculations she was doing. And that's using today's interest rate. So what I talked to Jessica about was, I think our ownership section kind of has a different story that we need to kind of figure out
how to tell
it, because if right now, it is sort of affordable to buy in East Hampton, is that because of the interest rate, and who is that affordable to, and kind of how do we not make it seem like we don't need affordable housing, but and it's
how do we plan for the future too?
Right, and that is a lot of it's based on the interest rate, which is very, very low, which won't stay that way forever, and maybe people at 60% can't buy, but people at 80% can. So that was one of my concerns about the ownership section being needed to reworked, because
and I think I feel like I conveyed that to her, but I'm not sure if it's totally sunk in, so we'll have to see what the draft comes in, whether she understood that. She did say that she did go and she looked at sale prices, and she has this new chart that has this, or maybe it was an old chart, but she basically was, she's done some new figuring anyway. Let's just leave it at that. So we'll see how that comes out in the narrative.
That's good. And that's something that we could probably help craft anyway once we kind of see more of it, but I think that's where we're going to need to kind of figure out what we want to say about that
home ownership.
Yeah, because it's, I think, a different picture than it was in 2006.
For sure.
Okay. And I did read the minutes from last meeting. I see that you voted to keep me the chair. I was reading it, I'm like, what?
So what happens when you leave early?
We figured you weren't here, you wouldn't object, so.
Thank you. And so this just leads me into the recruitment section, because I was noting that I was supposed to call Jerry Fix, which I did not do, but I will.
It's okay, it's on your list.
But I know since we are down several members, we need to make a priority, I guess.
Well, I can fill you in a little bit. I had a conversation with JP, Jean-Pierre Pache, and I did not convince him to join the partnership. I'm still working on it. He also agreed to talk to artists that he knows. The biggest sticking point, I think, was at the meetings on Wednesday nights, and that's he has a child care issue on Wednesday nights. I said, they've moved the meeting for me in the past based on my course schedule, so I'm going to keep working on him. My former colleague who's now at Williston, Eric Yates, said no, but I'm asking him to then please name names and tell us who we can get from Williston. Back to recruiting Leanne Connor. So good. Maybe we'll tag team her. She'd be great. Her husband, she used to work at Taylor Rental, And she's just an all-around great person. She's a helping hand volunteer. She knows everybody
I'll bug her at helping.
and everybody's business. Her husband's a
And
VP at Florence Savings Bank. She's just lovely. And plus they're still part of Taylor. I mean, her husband's family owns Taylor Agency, so that's a good. She just knows a lot.
I'll see
She'd be
her Sunday. I'll talk to her too.
I think I did have some success though with the other person that I was recruiting, and that is Ann Parazzo.
Oh.
Yeah, who I happened to call today because she's my closing attorney for my refi, and I said to her,
And I think it'll be mine as well as soon as we can hear back from the bank.
yeah. So I said, I know that the planning board was really, you put up with a lot there and it was really challenging. I said, but if you want to come back and do some service for the city, this is a great committee. It's wonderful. You could still be doing stuff about affordable housing. So we're going to have coffee.
Oh, good.
And she'll hopefully come to the March meeting. But I really think she was really close to signing on the dotted line.
Oh, good.
Unless she's watching this on TV.
And then she just backed out.
And I also explained about the fact that we are recording meetings, so. But I think she'd be a great addition.
I do too. That would be
Yeah.
great.
I contacted some people, or tried, at Riverside Industries, Charge, and I had no luck with anybody there. But I did get the name of for the Cottage Street artists. They have a board, and I got the name of the person who was the head of the director of the board, I guess, and I haven't called her yet, but I'm going to call her and see if maybe I could go to a board meeting, or they could somehow get the word, somehow get the word out that, or send them a paper notice that we were looking for members.
Who's their board person?
Annie Steiner. She's not from East Hampton. It's not an East Hampton number.
Okay.
But I know a lot of the artists. I was hoping it would be one of them, but it's not. But maybe I could get to talk to them or something.
That's good. And Jim, are you an official member?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. Just checking.
I've done my state ethics test and everything.
Good for you.
Oh.
You're ahead of me.
And I will contact Jerry Fix. I meant to do it before today and I didn't, but
That's how it goes.
he would be, I think, a good connection to the church issue. All right, well, we'll just keep doing the best we can. And hopefully find some folks. GIS mapping
Sure.
intern.
So we have an individual from Westfield State. She's getting her certificate in GIS, and she was looking for an independent study, and so we thought maybe it would be good for her to do the mapping for the housing production plan. Plus, we've been talking with the Economic Development Committee about doing an analysis of available property. So I'm kind of blending it together into one mapping project for her, but then we can sort of separate it as we need to. So essentially what I've asked her to do is review our GIS parcel data and start to cull out all of the vacant properties in East Hampton that are zoned for residential. And then I think what we need to do is a further analysis of what can be for multifamily and what could be for single family, so that we can see what those differences are. I think that would be helpful. And then what we could do is, in addition to that vacant parcels, we can start to look at underutilized parcels that wouldn't pop up in the assessor's database that we know that would be potential properties, like the Parsons Street School or the churches, or anything that we know is underutilized, is not being used, but could potentially be, a housing project. And then we can just add those to the map and have her come out with a map of potential project areas. So that's, and if you can think of any other maps that you think would be beneficial for the plan, let me know and I can sort of add it to our list. But that's what her initial task is to do, is to identify vacant properties for residential uses and commercial industrial for the EIC. So
That's great.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
That sounds good.
if you think of anything, let me know.
Okay. So I see from the minutes from last time, there was discussion about goals and priorities for 2013, and Jessica thought maybe we didn't finish this discussion. I don't know if we want to talk about it more, or if we are done with it. Do you remember? You want to see the notes from last time?
We had said that in the February, right?
Yeah.
February meeting,
Oh,
that you were gonna,
There
you
we
wanted
go.
to set priorities for the
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what they are.
Did we do it already?
Did we do it?
We did.
Oh, we did
I think
some.
what we
did it very
said what they
casually.
are, but what we didn't do was say, okay, so are we going to go to the CPA and what are we going to request?
Well, speaking of that, I had Ben do up a memo to you regarding the out-of-target area housing rehab projects
great.
and their completion and what was done and how much was
Oh,
spent.
thanks,
And so that you have this, so this might help inform you, decide whether this is something you want to do again. And I believe we'll send this to the CPA committee once you've read this and make sure that it's okay, you want to send it to them. But we think it's important to sort of report back of what happened. And I wasn't sure whether you wanted to get on, somebody wanted to represent the housing partnership, get on the agenda and say, report back and say, look, here, this is just to show you what we did with the money that you gave us.
Right.
These are the projects that were accomplished, just to show the success of it, and then that might help grease the wheels if you wanted to go back and ask for more for something, if you wanted to do again out of target. We definitely have a wait list of 42 people on our housing rehab list right now.
Okay. Are they all out of Target or
No,
or both?
they're both.
Okay.
So
Then we
there's
should totally
definitely
do it,
people
because
outside the
you
target
can't
area.
what do you have left for block grant money for them? Anything?
We don't have,
I thought so.
We have
Don't have
nothing right
anything.
now until we.
So the only way to accomplish that goal is by using CPA funds.
At this, yes, outside the target area, definitely. If we
But
get
also inside. the
inside,
target
if we
area
don't
at
get
this
funded
point.
again, right?
When does that round go in?
Next week. Yeah.
You look so not stressed. And when do you find out though? Because it takes a while.
It takes a couple of months. So I think if we were awarded contracts, we might not actually see contracts until June or July. And then it takes PVPC a while to do the income qualification, to figure out who they're going to, it takes,
Yeah, right.
they say it takes 11 months for a housing rehab project under PVPC
Right.
time, in PVPC time.
So we could essentially request CPA funds for a certain number of housing rehab units and then do it sort of contingent on whether we get the block grant money, right?
You asked for 3 units last time, and we were able to squeak out 4 because it was extra money
Right,
left over.
right, which is great. And they average about, I thought they averaged more than that, because we had budgeted for 30
depends.
grand apiece.
35,000 is the threshold under CDBG, so we were using the same CDBG threshold for
Gotcha.
this. But they average around 20, and again, it depends on how bad the repairs. If you have major
You
lead
gotta wait till
issues,
till Rick Barris gets in there.
Right, exactly. And we had a case under CDBG this year that was up to $41,000
Wow.
because of the amount of lead that was present in her house, and she had a child, and so there was major issues in there. So,
Okay.
so anyway, this is for you to think about. And
So the way that we went to the CPA the last time to do this project, we had issued an RFP to the community, or to the housing folks, and PVPC came to us with this proposal.
Right.
So it seems to me that we'd have to reach out to them to see if they're willing to do it, and maybe have them put something together for us, and then we could bring that to CPA.
Sure.
Because that would make more sense
Sure.
to me, instead of just walking in there with nothing.
Yeah. Do you want me to do that? I mean, I'll wait till the block grant round is submitted next week because they're all
Yeah, they're all crazy too.
they're all
I know,
crazy.
everyone in
So
CD's running those grants.
I will, I can wait until after the 15th, and then I can approach them and
Does it
say,
make more sense for you to do that than for us to do that?
I can do that because we deal with the housing rehab people
Right, all the time.
So I can very easily say, put a proposal together,
Right, and we'll bring it to the
and
CPA.
then we can go to the CPA and ask for
Yeah,
more money.
I think that would be great. Don't you think so?
Yeah.
Other people?
Yes, I do.
And remind me, the folks that we assisted through this, they already owned the home? Were they buying the house?
No,
Or
they
were already
own it.
living? Okay.
They own it, and they have. It's the same. It's modeled exactly after CDBG. So they have the deferred loan,
It's a 15-year deferred
15-year.
loan.
on their property. It's the same exact thing.
So the deed
outside
restriction
project.
is only 15 years,
That's
but it
right.
still counts on the inventory.
That's right.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
want, that's still true?
Yes.
Okay.
So we can add
Because
these
there was a
more.
time when it
Yes.
seemed like it
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
For 15 years, yeah. And this is where a lot of the small towns get in trouble, like the Middlefields and Chesterfields, because their whole inventory is based on housing rehab projects. And then,
Right.
So, do you want comments on Ben's memo now or later?
either or.
Okay. I just wanted to read.
You can read it and email
The
me
only-
if you want me.
Okay, that's fine. The only thing I was noticing was that he talks in here about how we issued an RFP to solicit proposals, but this one only talks about PVPC.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no.
No, it doesn't.
It
It
also
says-
talks about Parsons.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Then we're good. But it doesn't have any, it doesn't say anything about that except for Parsons Village. It doesn't even have Valley CDC's name in there.
No.
All right, I might suggest some tweaking to it, but I can
Go
do that
ahead.
later.
That's fine. Absolutely.
Just because it seems incomplete a little bit.
Sure.
So if it goes to the, and the CPA committee is often, incomplete doesn't work for them. I don't know, maybe it's changed, I haven't been in a long time.
I think they'd like some report back of what happened.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, is there any update on Parsons that we know of?
No, they have, I mean, they've got their one-stop application in, and I don't think they're going to hear until April. So it's a couple more months before they'll hear whether they're even financed.
Before they hear that, they've been financed.
Yeah. What did I say? I don't know what I said.
Well, let's hope they
Let's
get
hope. I mean,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
trying to be positive, that's.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I think they believe they are going to be. I think they feel good about that, but I don't know.
Well, because then DHCD kind of altered the criteria. Did you remember about
I don't really.
applying for tax credits? Not that it was going to make Valley CDC ineligible, but it didn't seem like a slam dunk to me. Like they sort of made some like weird preferencing. I don't remember. I just remember reading it and going, "Oh, well, they kind of fit this," but anyway, I'm hopeful of the finance. Otherwise, we're in trouble.
Can I go back to recruitment just for 1 second? Because
Yeah.
I just thought of something, this is related to Pat Burns. Gina Gavoni might be moving to East Hampton.
No.
Yeah.
What does this mean? What does this mean?
Why?
What are they talking?
She's thinking about moving to Western Mass. Pat's trying to get her to move here.
Pat wants to do that.
So if that happened though,
Yeah.
she'd be on our housing partnership.
She would. I love Gina Goodwin.
I know you do. So Gina works for MHP?
Yeah, Mass Housing Partnership, and she runs their soft second loan program.
Yeah. And I just remember her from my days at Hilltown CDC and just
She has two little kids.
fabulous.
She lives in Natick. We were
So-
pretty friendly when I
Oh,
was
it
doing
wasn't
college.
native, but
Well, yeah. So would she stay at MHP?
I don't know. This is all Pat's
might have to
scheme.
face
It's
her
one of
later.
Pat's- It's one of Pat's schemes. So if it works out,
Well,
we have a good.
I have to say that Pat schemed very hard to get me to move to Western Mass, and it worked.
And here you are.
Oh.
Thank goodness. Thank you, Pat Burns. Anyway,
Well, that's interesting information.
yes.
That all of the city knows.
If they were watching.
The 3 people that may watch this.
Right.
That's right.
Okay. So I think I think if PVPC wants to put a proposal together, we could go. This is pretty impressive.
It is. It's great.
The amount of rehab that was accomplished with $99,000 or $85,000. I mean, I think that's a very good use of our CPE money.
I do too.
Is there anything, do we want to talk about, is there anything else we want from CPA? I feel like we have a lot on our plate. I'm not sure that issuing an RFP for more projects
Not right now.
seems like a very
No.
feasible.
I think let's get some shovels in the ground at all those habitat projects first.
yeah.
I mentioned to Erin that I volunteered you all to help with, and, if you needed our assistance in,
Oh, yeah.
setting up sessions or attending sessions or recruitment or whatever he needs, just to let us know. So I volunteered you all.
That's okay. That's fine.
That's good.
We would have done it anyway.
I know you would have, but I just feel like he hasn't reached out to us a lot in terms of what's happening. So Just want to make sure that was,
Well, when we saw him at the zoning board meeting, he almost was talking as if we didn't know much about what was happening. He was like, yeah, we know this.
yeah.
We came to you with these parcels.
But he doesn't have the history.
He doesn't,
No.
and he's new and getting used to it.
And he's only there for a short period of time.
Right.
This isn't his permanent gig, right? So,
Right.
but he's moving ahead. I was very impressed with all the information he gave me on Everett Street, so.
Good.
Good. Yeah, I mean, I think our other priorities should just be to get this housing production plan done and approved by DHCD and get us on the road to our long-awaited educational
Piece,
outreach
yeah.
piece that we really want to do.
Yeah. I think once we have the housing production plan, that'll just kind of
Yeah.
come right out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on priorities?
Oh, I wanted to ask if we heard anything. The Master Plan Implementation Committee, we sent,
Oh, yeah.
what's his name?
Jason.
Off to find out about housing trusts. Have we heard anything? Okay. Do we think we will? Or is that just another conversation that we should have like a subcommittee talking about?
I think it's just an ongoing conversation, right? I mean, that would be a CPA project, sort of, right? That's the whole plan, was that you would be asked for CPA money to,
Make a housing
To
trust.
fund it.
I think it's an ongoing discussion,
Revenue
it
streams.
seems, right?
Yes. I think that what we want to do, though, if we feel like that's something we want to move forward with, even pursuing it, even if we're not sure we want to pursue it, is to map out a strategy that includes how to reach out to different stakeholders to find out their thoughts about it. Because I think if there's not political will for it, then we shouldn't even bother. And I think that's what we need to figure out first, is if people feel like this is a good idea, who are the people who would be on it, probably, that's where we need to start. So that, to me, seems like it might make sense for us to have a strategy for that, for how do you do that part. So,
Is housing trust the same as land trust?
it's a similar
Kind of.
idea. So what we would do, so the mayor would have to serve on it, and then it's an appointed committee that crosses a bunch of different areas. So there's some people who have to serve on it.
It's like a financial,
Did I send you, do you want me to send you the Housing Trust, the how-to book? Did I do that
I
yet?
have that.
Okay, so that tells you in there who all is supposed to be on it. But essentially what it does is it sets up an organization that has a money stream, so that if, you know, this house is for sale and it looks like a good opportunity to buy it, rehab it, sell it to a first-time home buyer who's of moderate income, that the resources are there to do that without the process, well, depending on how it's set up, without as much of the process in place that if we wanted to do that, it would take us a year, you know? So it's just easier access to capital for those kinds of things. That's why you do it.
That just reminded me about the resale at Mountain View Condo. Have we?
I sent out, I did a huge email blast. Did I do you on that blast with everybody else in the
Maybe
world?
that's why I know about it.
Yeah. And I actually heard back from people that I wouldn't expect to hear back from. So I think in the future, I think it's good to just send it out to everybody.
I post that stuff on my Facebook page too.
Oh, you did? Oh, good.
I don't know if I did that one, but I have been trying to do that with the Valley CDC stuff.
So like Tom Brown responded back from East Hampton Savings Bank, and he called me like 3 minutes after I sent out I just got your email, this is great, I'll let people know. And I
That's
was like,
wonderful.
wow.
Oh.
And he's like, you know, in the system where people are looking for houses. So I thought, you know, that was good. And I heard back from Pat Brough, and so I just heard back from people I wouldn't have normally heard back from, I feel like, than the standard people I normally send it to.
Good.
So, I don't know.
That's a great idea, though. Just the broader the reach. If they don't want it, they'll delete it. If they know somebody, they'll tell them.
Right.
But in those cases, that just reminded me of the housing trust. So let's say, you know, we're having trouble finding a buyer,
Right.
and
Buy it,
you know,
and hold it till we had a
right.
buyer.
And if we were worried that we were going to lose it off the inventory, if we had a housing trust that we had easy money to, we could buy it and hold
Well,
on to
they
it.
could buy.
The
Yeah,
housing trust could buy it and
Right.
hold on to it. Instead of having to go to 65 committees and ask for the money.
And then back and forth.
Right. So,
That's why it would be a good idea.
Okay.
But there's lots of reasons why it might not be.
Well, do you want to talk, should we talk about this at our next meeting?
Yeah.
Develop the strategy?
Yeah,
Or
I think so, because we need, I think it would be good to have Jim Sullivan here for that
Yep.
too, and Alexis.
Yep.
That would be good.
Wasn't she also looking into something down the Cape?
She is.
Okay.
Yes, that's the other
Housing
thing, the
Trust?
Chatham,
Yeah.
not the housing
Oh,
trust, but
what
what
was
they've
it?
been doing with their CPA money. I think
rental.
Chatham's, right, they were doing like the first, last, and security
Oh, right, okay.
loans to people, I think.
Yes.
Right?
Well, they also have like this kind of funky rental subsidy that uses CPA money, so it's kind of like a Section 8 voucher,
Right.
but it's for a finite period of time, and the person has to be going through like a family self-sufficiency program, because I think it's like 5 years and then you're done. So, and it's not a big subsidy, so they're giving like, you know, some little amount of money and then hoping that the family at the end of 5 years is going to be
Not needing
On
it.
their feet a little better. and-
Yeah.
but
Very
it seems like
forward-thinking.
Chatham perhaps maybe has a very
Forward thinking.
forward-thinking, or I don't know,
Progressive.
CPA committee, you know, because that's, you know, you don't really get anything for that. So that I think has been some of, you know, and a lot of CPA committees, like some of the stumbling block, because you don't get anything in return.
Right.
There's no deed restriction. There's
So
no
we're a more economically stable community.
right.
Aside from that.
But there's no, you know, units on our inventory. There's
Right.
none of that, which
Right.
I think is the hard part sometimes.
All right.
All right, so we'll talk about the housing trust strategy at our next meeting, because we've been talking about this for a while. I would like to see it,
Go somewhere.
well, even if it's just like a little somewhere,
Yeah.
because I also think it would be a good idea. All right, what else is on our list?
State ethics test.
So this is, Barbara asked me to remind all of you that you've got something in the mail from her about the state ethics
Right.
test.
That's in my waiting to do pile.
And this is a new one. So I had to do it last year for work. And so my question to Barbara was, if I did it the old one last year, is that still, I think it probably is okay till next year, but this is a new one for anybody who hasn't taken it before. So just a reminder that you're all supposed to do it and give it back to her.
Okay.
I did it.
I'll get there.
The answer is no to every question, if I recall. Can't do anything.
You just gave me all the answers. Is that ethical?
No.
It's not quite that way, but.
I haven't taken the new one. All
There's
right.
one that surprised me, and like, you can?
Yeah, when the answer is yes, I was like, what?
That's funny.
Other items?
We covered them. I just wanted to talk
Yeah.
about the studio.
I think that's awesome.
That is totally
And that would be just
Fantastic.
East Hampton?
Just East Hampton.
fantastic.
Focusing on the Sacred
That's a
Heart
master's
property.
class too, right?
And-
Not
yeah.
an undergrad
Yeah.
class. Which
And
is
the
good.
Notre Dame property. So,
Nice.
I mean, there's nothing, it's just ideas at this point, but
Yeah.
I'll bring it to the mayor and get his sign off, and if he's okay with it, then I'll approach John Mullen and get something
Yeah.
in the works.
The Sacred Heart property, we were, Luke's daycare did a summer party, and we did at this, they own the daycare, he goes to Our Lady
Oh, right.
over on the Notre Dame campus, and so the picnic was at the Sacred Heart property, and they have this huge kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the Polish kitchen.
Yeah.
I miss the Polish ladies making
they
the
do.
pierogies.
I guess they do still use it for some things, but it's like this huge industrial, beautiful kitchen. It's like
Sitting there.
sitting there. I mean, I guess they use it like once a week for something. They said, but I was blown away.
We wanted to start that pie restaurant, didn't we?
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. Well, we are so timely.
Yes.
So our next meeting is March
6th.
again.
Yeah, they're the same. March, because
March
there's
is
28
April,
days in
isn't it?
February,
Oh.
which is exactly 4 weeks.
March 6th at 6:30. And I mean, back to your person who might be interested if we didn't meet on Wednesdays, I have no particular opposition. I don't know, you have other scheduling things.
Yeah, Tuesdays are bad because of planning board, Mondays are bad because of conservation.
So really Wednesday. We're back to.
But as long as it's on those off weeks as the other ones, I mean, that's the thing, it's, you know, planning board is the second and fourth, and
I think it's okay for us to just stay here and I'll continue the conversation. He said he might, if it was just once a month, maybe,
He could work it out.
yeah, so we'll see if that's.
Did you tell me he just bring his kids here?
I did.
That's what you do?
Yeah. I did say that as well. Sometimes my kids come. They
All
want
right.
it.
So we adjourn the meeting at 7:22?
beautiful.